comes from a 2018 volume on festivals from the chapter on Shavuot. And it explains the prevalence of cheesecake as a specific Shavuot food. And it says, a number of reasons are given for this custom. Some say that it is because the Torah is compared to milk and honey. As we read, honey and milk are under your tongue. Okay? Whereas Torah is in our mouth, right? It's in your mouth and it's in your heart and you can do it. We hear in Torah. So it's in our mouth and that, it is the essence of Torah. According to another midrash, when the Jews stood at Sinai and said, all that God has spoken we will faithfully do, when they say Na'aseh v'nishma, you have spoken and we're going to listen and do it. We'll do it and listen, actually, is the order. God responded with the verse, honey and milk are under your tongue. Okay? So when the Israelites say, we will do it and we will listen, again, God confirms that the honey and milk is coming from them. That is where the Torah comes from. The idea is that since the Jews agreed to accept the Torah unconditionally, they would find the Torah's words as sweet as honey and milk. Okay? So Torah has a ta'am, has a taste for us, right? And when we do it, it brings that sweetness into our mouth. Accordingly, to remind us of the Torah's sweetness and preciousness, there is a custom to eat dairy cakes that are tasty and sweet, as well as food sweetened with honey. Okay? So you didn't think when you were eating your cheesecake, I am eating Torah, right? But that is sort of the essence of what we're supposed to experience when we eat sweet dairy. You didn't think it with your Blintzes either, but when you eat sweet dairy at Shavuot. Questions, comments? You didn't know that dairy was so packed with not only protein, but spirituality. And also, I just want to note here, too, that Shavuot is the holiday where we celebrate the giving of the Ten Commandments. And so if you've ever noticed, Blintzes sort of look like little tablets. I like that. So you are internalizing the law when you eat it. Again, I don't think Golden's puts that on the box, but maybe they should. Okay, so let's get into some gematria now, because reason number 4 is a magical number. So it says in Numbers, it tells us that when we celebrate the festival of the Feast of Weeks, what's the Feast of Weeks? Shavuot. Shavuah is 1 week. Shavuot are many weeks. Why is it called Shavuot? Because at Passover, we started counting. Passover, the second day of Passover, we start counting the Omer, and it concludes with the 50th day at Mount Sinai, right? We count 49 days, and then we have arrived at Sinai, and it's symbolic of that journey that we make from Egypt to Sinai. So in Numbers, they begin to lay out how do we make sacrifices to God? What are the offerings? And in Numbers 28:26, it says, on the day of the first fruits, and why is it first fruits? When did you plant? At Passover. And when do you do the first harvest? Shavuot. I'm not saying it in your Ashkenazic way, the Shavuot stuff. Shavuot, no, I'm just kidding. Shavuot. Shavuot is the day that you have the first harvest of the planting, okay? So on the day of the first fruits, your Feast of Weeks, Shavuot, when you bring an offering of new grain to God, you shall observe a sacred occasion. You shall not work at your occupations. Okay, so why is today, there are 3 pilgrimage festivals. There is Passover, Shavuot, and Sukkot. Each of them has days that are like Shabbat, where we do no work. This is where this comes from. But what's interesting here is that it says, when you bring an offering of new grain to God, and the rabbis pick up that it says, Mincha Chadash L'Adonai, you see this over here? B'Shavuotechem, okay? And if you pay attention here, you have a Ch, a L, and a B. And if you put them all together, you get the word chalav, which means milk. Okay? So, here we get into the mystical things. What we find in this is that the offering of the first grain, did you bring your offering of first grain tonight? Why did you not do that? What? We didn't plant, but also, we don't do sacrifices. Why don't we do sacrifices? There's no temple. The temple was destroyed in 70 CE, and since that time, we have not brought a single sacrifice to God. And the rabbis, they're asking, how do we modernize this? How do we bring this into our life at a time where we don't have the temple, where we don't have a place to offer sacrifice? And now, through this mystical coincidence here, they say the word chalav is bedded, so we don't bring sacrifices, but what do? We eat dairy, right? And that is a reminder of the sacrifices that we would bring to the temple. Okay? So I kind of think that's a great substitute. You know, I can eat ice cream or cheesecake or yogurt, and boom, I am fulfilling the mitzvah of a sacrifice for Shavuot. So in some of the more mystical ways that the rabbis treat this, we find these glimmers of beauty, you know, that now the act of eating cheesecake is an offering to God. Okay, so if you needed any reason before, I've now given it to you. I'm embarrassed to say his name, but Rav Menachem Mendel of Ropshitz says he was a Hasidic rabbi in the 1700s who founded his own dynasty and focused a lot on gematria. Gematria is the practice of taking Hebrew letters. Every Hebrew letter has a different number equivalency. So Aleph equals 1, Bet equals 2, Gimel equals 3, and so on and so forth. And then when you get past 10, Mem equals 20, Lamed equals 30, and so on and so forth. So gematria was the practice of taking letters and words and adding up the numbers to see what they equal, to see if there was something interesting there. So for example, you know, why do we care so much about chai, 18, and because chai actually equals 18. Yud is 10 and cha is 8. So here, Rabbi Menachem Mendel says, the gematria, the numerical value of the Hebrew word for milk, chalav, is 40, because bet is 2, lamed is 30, and chet is 8. So add them together, you get 40. Now before you even read on, look at me. Don't read on. Look at me. What does 40 evoke for you? Well, if you all talk at once, I can't hear you. Raise your hands. Yes. Okay, so we have 40 days of Noah. Mm-hmm. What were you going to say, Shelley? 49. 49. 40 years wandering in the desert. Nice, thank you. I'm going to stop there because that's where we're going. We eat dairy foods on Shavuot, chalav. Oh, I'm sorry. You're going to see in a moment because it's in the text. We eat dairy foods on Shavuot to commemorate the 40 days that Moses spent on Mount Sinai receiving instruction in the entire Torah, which is what Neil said. Moses then spent an additional 40 days on Sinai praying for forgiveness following the golden calf. Okay? So what happens? He comes down the mountain, he sees the people worshiping an idol, he smashes the original tablets, punishes everybody. Meanwhile, you know, before he came down, God said, I've had it, I'm done with them. And Moses says, no, I got this. Let me go down and talk to them. So he really is the intercessor who saves the Jewish people. And that is the role of prophet. Prophet goes in both directions. Prophet speaks to the people, and prophet speaks to God on behalf of the people, and goes in both directions. So he goes then, after all of this, he goes back up the mountain, and for 40 days, you know, prays for their repentance and makes up for asking God God to forgive them for following the golden calf. And then he stays up there an extra 40 days, and then a third set of 40 days before returning with a new set of stone tablets. So chalav now, the dairy, begins to represent a kind of progression for the Jewish people, right? On the one hand, they don't have faith. Moses comes down the mountain with tablets for them, and they've already violated the first thing they heard at Mount Sinai, which is, don't have any other gods before me. And then there is punishment and reparations and restoration of relationship. And then Moses comes back down with something covenantal again to offer the people. So perhaps, and let me finish this and then I'll come back to that. The numerical value of chalav, 40, has further, perhaps when we eat dairy, we are remembering the tenuous relationship we have with God, how easy it is to turn away from that, what it takes to turn back to that, and the sense that the covenant is always there for us if we choose it. He continues, the numerical value of chalav, 40, has further significance in that there were 40 generations from Moses who recorded the written Torah till the generation of Ravina and Rav Ashi, who wrote the final version of the oral Torah, the Talmud. So it's interesting too, this 40 generations from Moses, who hears directly from God, passes it down to the people, the 40 generations keep it alive, and then Ravina and Ashi write it down so that we have it. It's no longer an oral tradition. It is ours to carry into exile. And so the other thing when we eat the chalav is we remember Ledor Vador, the chain of tradition, how many years is 40 generations? 800 years? Yeah. So if you're talking about the fact that it came down from Moses and lasted 800 years, eating the dairy is the reminder of your link in that chain of tradition. Will it exist 800 more? Or will it stop here? So now you're feeling guilty about your dairy, not just because of the calories, but because of the weight of carrying on Torah. Okay? So here we're looking at gematria as a way of understanding the relevance and the symbolism of the dairy, of the act of eating dairy. Okay, the next one. This one is the mountain is made of cheese. So Psalm 68:16 says, a mountain of God is the mountain of Bashan. A mountain of peaks is the mountain of Bashan. Okay. So, Midrash Tanchuma, which comments on Torah, has a problem here. What is the mountain of God? Mount Sinai. What is this? Where's this Bashan? Where does this come from? What do we do with this? Now they're talking about another mountain, but we only know God from Mount Sinai. So they do what rabbinic creativity does, and they say, so the word Bashan really is reminiscent of Basham, which means the mountain which God was on, or where God was there. Basham sounds like Bashan, right? So what mountain was God there? Sinai. So this is really just another name for Sinai, is what they do. And then, I love them, they're so clever. They say a mountain of peaks is the mountain of Bashan. So, if you look at the word peaks in Hebrew, it's gavnunim. And in modern Hebrew, the word gvina comes from a similar root. And gvina means cheese. Okay? So the mountain of God is actually a mountain of cheese. And they it's comical almost, but again, they give a reason, sort of, of cheese. Here, the mountain is made of cheese, so this cheese mountain connects us back to God, connects us back to the giving of Torah. And Rabbi David Meisels, who is probably best known for being the biographer of the last Chabad Rebbe, but also wrote a series of books. In a 2006 book called Shavuot Secrets, I will quote it, even though I don't like saying it that way, the text alludes to the idea of dairy being representative of Torah in a particular way, and specifically cheese. He says further, the gematria of Gavina, so we had chalav before, now we're at Gavina. So if the mountain of God is Gavina, is cheese, what's the gematria behind that? And that gives us 70, corresponding to the 70 faces of Torah. Have you ever heard that term before, the 70 faces of Torah? So the 70 faces of Torah is a reminder that every person sees the Torah text differently. You know, that you have this one Torah, but it can have 70 faces because you have 70 people interpreting it and understanding it in very different ways. And so here he's saying that Gavina, the dairy, the cheese that we eat, reminds us that Torah is not monolithic, that it speaks to people in different ways. So eat your cheese and think about how Torah speaks to you. All right. How am I doing? Oh, I have 15 more minutes. I think I got this. Okay. So this reason 6 is the future is bright and the future is vegetarian. In Isaiah chapter 11, which we're going to look at in a moment, piece from it, is his vision of the Messianic era. You know, what would this look like? And his insistence that the Messiah will bring world peace and almost a change of nature. So in Isaiah we read, "The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, the leopard lie down with the kid, the calf, the beast of prey, and the fatling together with a little boy to herd them. The cow and the bear shall graze, their young shall lie down together, and the lion like the ox shall eat straw." Okay? So what do we see here in this messianic vision? Right, everybody gets along. People who used to eat animals that used to eat each other no longer want to eat each other. And in fact, even the dangerous ones, a little boy can shepherd. And that's okay. So this is the vision of the future. And then the lion like the ox shall eat straw. Like the lion is a meat eater, but the lion will become vegetarian, right? The lion will stop eating others, you know, and taking life in order to bring about this change in the world. It's like a change of the natural order, right? This is not how animals act. Animals don't learn this. They're born with it. They know what they're supposed to eat, unlike humans. And so their very nature is going to be changed in this messianic time. So Rabbi Yitz Greenberg, who's a modern Orthodox rabbi who still is alive today, in his 1993 book, wrote this book about the holidays, wrote this. He said, "Just as Passover evokes the future universal redemption, so Shavuot evokes the future universal covenant. The prophet predicts that even carnivorous animals will turn vegetarian. Hence follows the anticipatory dairy meal of Shavuot." Right? Not talking vegan here, we're talking vegetarian. And vegetarians, many of them, eat milk. So, on Shavuot, when we eat dairy, it is a taste of the world to come. When we don't eat meat, when we step into a vegetarian lifestyle, it is a taste of what the world can be. And a reminder that that is still out there. All right, questions, comments? No. All right. So reason 7, the double showbread on Shavuot. Okay, in Leviticus, describes offerings that are brought on Shavuot, we read this. You shall bring out of your dwellings 2 wave loaves of 2/10 parts of an ephah. I'll break that down for you in a moment. They shall be of fine flour. They shall be baked with leaven for the first fruits unto God. Okay? So, first of all, what is an ephah? An ephah is 10 omers. And now you're going to say, what are 10 omers? It's about a bushel. 1 omer is equal to about 4 pounds or 43 eggs, depending if you want to do by weight or volume. So imagine 43 eggs. This comes right after the verse about counting the omer. And it says you are supposed to bring 2 loaves. You're supposed to bring fine flour, but what do you do with the flour? Do you just bring satchels of flour to the priests? You bake it. You make 2 loaves to bring with you. Just like you would not show up to someone's house with flour, butter, and sugar and say, thanks for inviting me over, so too, when you go to the temple, you're going to bake bread for the priests because they need to eat and because it is a much easier way to travel as well. So we have in this tradition this idea of baking 2 loaves of bread. So what do we learn about this? So in the Shulchan Aruch, remember that code I told you about before, Rima says, we have the custom to spread out plants on Shavuot as a memory for the happiness of the receiving of the Torah. So if none of you came to confirmation, and you should really come to confirmation next year because it's really beautiful, but we have the confirmands come down and decorate the ark with flowers. And we have flowers in here from this tradition, the idea that you're supposed to create this beautiful setting. It's time when things are growing and everything's green outside, and so we bring that into our synagogues and our houses as a memory of how happy, the joyousness of receiving Torah. We have a custom everywhere to eat dairy food on the first day of Shavuot, and it seems to me that the reason is it is like the 2 foods that are taken on the evening of Passover, a reminder of the Passover offering and a reminder of the festival offering. Okay? The shank bone and the roasted egg represent 2 different offerings that we would make to God. One, the sacrifice for Passover specifically, and one for just a general holiday. So the shank bone is for Passover specifically. The egg represents the offerings we would make because it's a holiday. So it's like the 2 foods that are taken on the evening of Passover, a reminder of the Passover offering and a reminder of the festival offering. So too we eat a dairy food followed by a meat food, and we bring with them 2 loaves on the table in place of the altar, because our dining room tables are supposed to be like the altar of the temple. I'll tell you a little bit more about this. And thus there will be a reminder of the 2 loaves that were brought on the day of the first fruits. Okay? So on Shavuot, you eat dairy, and then you have 2 loaves of bread. We're gonna drill down a little bit more into that. But on Shabbat, how many challah are you supposed to have? 2. Why? Yes, a very similar reason. That they become representative of the offerings made in the temple, which is why if you're in a traditional house, when they tear the challah, they put salt on it, right? Because the offerings would be salted. So your table becomes a mishkan ma'at, a little sanctuary, a little temple. And that's why the 2 loaves is to remember the temple and the sacrifices there. Most people don't want that many carbs, so they don't. But if you have 2 loaves, then you have 1 for French toast the next day. I mean, there's good reasons for this. So these 2 loaves that originally they brought to the priests in the temple now show up on our table as a reminder of the bikurim, of the offerings they made. And then The Sefer Mechatzitz HaShekel, which is a book written by Rabbi Shmuel Kellen in the 1700s, said the following, that eating both a dairy and a meat meal forces a person to prepare 2 loaves of bread, as one cannot use the same bread that has been at a milchik table, at a dairy table, as on a fleshik table, on a meat table, and vice versa. So here it's so interesting to see that the tradition of the 2 loaves of bread turns into the ability to separate between your meat and your dairy. Okay? So I know I've turned to bread, so we learn also from this the meaning behind the showbread on Shavuot, that it starts as an offering in the temple, it makes its way to our tables, and then also helps us to maintain kashrut in our homes. Yes? Yes. So you can eat either. There's just a time period in between. So if you eat dairy within 30 minutes to an hour, you can eat a meat meal. If you eat dairy after meat, if you're eating meat first and then dairy, you have to wait 6 hours. So, I mean, that's like really waiting a meal time. But yes, so this was the idea that you could have the dairy meal and then a half an hour later have your meat meal. But you wouldn't want the challah, you wouldn't want the bread having been on the table with the meat meal for fear of cross-contamination. Okay, so the last one that I want to bring to you, which I think is really beautiful and meaningful, because I always like to pull the ethical, the musar, out of the text. And this last reason to eat dairy comes from the Yalkut Shimoni. Says that milk should only be put in an earthenware vessel, because if it is put in a gold vessel, it will spoil quickly. So too, eating milk on Shavuot reminds us that one who is boastful will not succeed in their Torah learning. Only someone who is humble, like an earthenware vessel, will succeed and grow in Torah. It's beautiful, right? And it actually comes from a beautiful story in Ta'anit 7a in the Talmud that says, the daughter of a Roman emperor asked Rabbi Yehoshua ben Hananiah why he was so ugly. Shouldn't Torah knowledge be kept in a nicer looking head? He asked her what her father kept his wine in, and she said it was kept in an earthenware vessel. And Rabbi Yehoshua pointed out that everybody keeps their wine in clay jugs. Shouldn't the emperor keep his in silver and gold vessels? So she moved it, and what happened? The wine spoiled. She returned to the rabbi, and he said that the Torah is like that. It spoils if it is in a handsome head. She asked about people who are knowledgeable and handsome, and the rabbi said that if they were ugly, they would be even more learned. So, the last part about the milk, is that milk represents Torah, and we are the earthenware jugs. We are the humble people who carry it, and that is where it succeeds and grows. Torah succeeds and grows in fertile soil of humility. If you are arrogant, Torah cannot take root, because you will think that you know everything. So, let's review. It's like the 4 questions. Why on this night do we... What have we learned about eating dairy on Shavuot? That first, God said that we would be brought up into the land of milk and honey. Number 2, when the Israelites got the 10 Commandments, they didn't have the rules for kosher meat, so they just ate dairy. Number 3, when the Israelites got the entire Torah at Sinai, they were overwhelmed by the rules for kosher meat, so they decided to eat dairy for a while. Number 4, when the Israelites got the entire Torah at Mount Sinai, they realized that all their meat was now treif, so they ate dairy until they made kosher meat. Number 5, when the lover is saying milk and honey are under your tongue in Song of Songs, He's really saying that the words of Torah are sweet as milk and honey. Number 6, when the Torah says, bring new grain to God on Shavuot, there's an acrostic with the Hebrew word for milk. Number 7, the gematria of the Hebrew word for milk is equal to the number of days that Moses was on Mount Sinai. Number 8, the gematria of the Hebrew word for cheese is equal to the number of 70 faces of Torah. Number 9, in the Psalms, it describes Mount Sinai as a mountain of peaks, and the word for peaks is similar to the word for cheese. Number 10, in Isaiah, it says that in the time of the Messiah, even the animals will be vegetarian, will eat dairy. Number 11, during the time of the temple, people brought 2 loaves of bread on Shavuot, and in order to eat 2 challahs in one night on Shavuot, you need to have a dairy meal before their meat one. Number 12, milk spoils when kept in fancy vessels, so this reminds us not to be boastful about whatever Torah we know. And number 13, your bonus, Shavuot is late in the spring when animals have a lot of milk, and the custom follows the availability. This is a good time to be eating. So let me ask you before I conclude with a few other thoughts, which of these reasons resonates with you? Is there one that sort of stands out and feels like, oh, this is why I'm going to eat dairy on Shavuot? Yeah. Milk and honey representing the words of Torah. Mm-hmm. Nice. What? The one about humility. That, the milk in the earthen jar reminds us that Torah takes root in our humility. Yes?
For me, it's just waiting. I'm actually waiting at Sinai for the word to come.
Okay, so it's being at Sinai and waiting in anticipation for Moses to come back with the law. Nice. So it's something to think about. I wanted to also share some ways, some traditions about this. Persian Jews make palau mastin, I know I'm butchering that, a dish made of rice and milk, and kolcha shiri, a dairy cake. While in Greece, there is a special dairy porridge made with cinnamon called sudlag. In Poland, cheesecake is the traditional Shavuot dessert, which is how many of you have Polish backgrounds? Okay. Libyan Jews make necklaces strung with cookies or pretzels in symbolic shapes for their children. I like that one. Iraqi Jews make sambusak, a savory pastry filled with cheese. The exact details of the menu are fluid. Any interpretation of a dairy meal and dessert would be appropriate. You could eat yogurt, you could eat cottage cheese, you can eat whatever dairy you want. This is an excellent opportunity to try out a new recipe symbolic of our renewed relationship with Torah, or take the time for an old family favorite to celebrate your roots. And I want to leave you with the most radical idea. Have you ever heard of ice cream for breakfast day? That should be our Shavuot tradition. So wake up tomorrow, fix yourself a big bowl of ice cream and say, the rabbi told me to do this. Thank you all for coming. Tomorrow we will have our Yizkor service. Rabbi Falco and Cantor Wally are leading it. I'll be here, but they're going to be leading it at 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And then at 11 o'clock, I will be leading a bagels and discussion of the Book of Ruth. So I hope to see you then. 10 o'clock to 11 o'clock. What did I say? 10 to 11, yeah. So 10 to 11. So 9 to 10 is Yizkor, 10 to 11 is Ruth. No, this is replacing it. Yeah. So thank you all.